Hey guys, ShotMD here. Hope you're doing well. Another cool video today. We're going to be looking at the Epiphone Bonamassa Signature ES-335. This is actually the first Epiphone I bought in over a decade. The reason I haven't bought one in so long, this was my first and only Epiphone until now. It's a 2005 Epiphone Les Paul standard. I got it back in around 2005 when I was just a teenager, and it was a good guitar. Like, I played it for many years. It was my first like real nice guitar, but you know, the pickups are a little bit muddy in it. The wiring isn't great. The switch was a bit faulty, you know, from the get-go, and it kind of turned me off of Epiphones. And I always just wanted the Gibson. I always thought, no, you know, I just want to save for Gibson. And I told myself, I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to save and wait and get a Gibson guitar rather than buying a bunch of Epiphones. I never bought one after that, or even considered them. But recently, when I was at Guitar Center, I was just trying out some random guitars and amps, and I ended up picking up one of the Epiphone 59 outfit Les Pauls, which, if you don't know, that's an Epiphone Les Paul that's been upgraded to be like a Gibson custom shop. So you've got the upgraded wiring, Bucker pickups, long neck tenon, they're pretty sweet. And I was very pleasantly surprised by that guitar. It sounded and played, you know, pretty much as good as a lot of Gibsons I've played and tried, and you know, Gibsons that I own. And it really made me rethink Epiphone and realize that I do think they're making a lot of improvements, and they've been turning out some really great guitars in recent years and making some good changes. Of course, though, I couldn't really justify that Epiphone 59 because I already have an Epiphone Les Paul that I'm planning to upgrade. I've got pickups for it and everything ready to go. And I've got a couple really nice Gibson Les Pauls, so it just didn't make sense to get the Epiphone upgraded Les Paul right there. But shortly after I tried that, this was announced. I was like, well, I don't have a semi-hollow. Don't have a 335. That would be kind of cool. So I thought I'd give this a chance. As with many of his signature models, I think this was a bit polarizing among fans, understandably. You know, a lot of people thought it was cool, including myself, but a lot of folks also thought this is way overpriced. This may in fact be the most expensive Epiphone to date, at least that I know of. I've never seen an Epiphone retail for $1,300, and definitely in the current lineup, I think this is the priciest Epiphone you can buy. So it's understandable, you know, people kind of question it because you could actually buy a couple Gibsons for that price. You can get a Les Paul Tribute from the Gibson lineup for that price. You can get a used Studio, a lot of nice guitars. And I myself was like a little skeptical about the price tag, but when you actually break it down, what you're getting, I think does make this well worth it. And I'll go into that right now. So the regular Epiphone ES-335 from the Inspired by Gibson line is about $600. And that guitar, if you wanted to upgrade to be like this, would actually end up costing close to what this costs already. So a couple upgrades that this guitar has: you have Gibson Bucker 2 and 3 pickups, which normally are about $300. You've got upgraded wiring that includes the 500K CTS pots. You've got Mallory capacitors, Switchcraft jack and toggle switch. And that's, you know, if you're gonna buy a pre-wired harness, probably gonna run you about $100 right there. This also comes with a really sweet kind of collector's case, I suppose. I'll actually put the camera over right now so you can see. And it's got like a, you know, really nice case, actually super plush. It's shockingly good quality. I think it's actually nicer than some of the Gibson cases I got with my guitars. And you've got the case candy in there with it, which is really nice. And honestly, the case itself probably runs about $100. So, you know, tack that on as well. We're looking at, if you do the math here, $600, you know, regular Epiphone ES-335. Add on another $300 for the pickups. Add on another $100 for the wiring. Add on another $100 for the case. You are looking at about $1,100. And that's a guitar that, you know, you still have to pay someone to do the work and do all those upgrades on, or you have to buy and use the tools yourself to do it. And That's not even counting, this guitar is also upgraded with a one-piece mahogany neck, which I don't think the regular ES-335 from the Epiphone lineup has. It's got the really cool Vibrola tailpiece there. We've got a nice custom-made plate here as well. And the Epiphone logo is kind of yellowed out, which is a nice touch, has a bit of a vintage feel to it. And I love the wood grain on this. If you actually look closer here, you can see right through the cherry finish. You can see like this really cool wood grain pattern. It's just a beautiful guitar. So considering all of those upgrades, you know, I think it's actually pretty fairly priced. And also people are saying, oh, you could buy a Gibson for that. Yeah, you could buy a Les Paul Tribute or Studio, but if you wanted 335, I think the cheapest 335 from the Gibson lineup is still like $3,000, and this is pretty much half that. And if you were to get a Gibson with all these appointments, it would probably be something out of like the custom shop, which is, you know, usually north of like 4,000. So all that considered, I don't think this is that bad of a deal. It is pricey, but I think you're getting what you paid for. And a lot of things that many people don't really consider is that, you know, the Joe Bonamassa signature models usually hold their value pretty well. I think the Lazarus is actually selling for like $100 or $200 more on the used market than it did new. And, you know, guitars like these, because they're limited, you have a collectability factor, you've got the cool signature guitar vibe to it. You can usually sell them for close to what you paid, maybe even more. And truthfully, if you took a regular Epiphone ES-335 and did all those mods that I mentioned and tried to sell on the used market, you would probably take a much bigger hit, because unfortunately, modded guitars tend to not hold their value well. Most mods you put into an instrument, you're not going to get that money back if you resell it. You're better off usually taking those parts, keeping it for yourself, putting it in stock and selling it again. But these, on the other hand, you know, if they're anything like the Lazarus and prior models that he's had signatures with, will probably sell for close to what you paid for it. And another nice bonus is a lot of retailers like Guitar Center, Music Zoo do offer these with a 15% off discount. And I think Guitar Center actually has a few still in stock. And I think they do have a 15% off like holiday coupon thing going on, so it might be worth a try. So really, you get this at a discount for $1,100, and you factor in all the upgrades, you're actually getting quite a lot for the money. And just for fun and slightly out of curiosity, the day before this arrived, because I was super excited, I went to Guitar Center to try out the regular Epiphone ES-335 from their lineup, and I actually did feel this was like a step above in fit and finish. That was a good guitar, the regular Epiphone, inspired by Gibson one, but that one had some sharp fret ends, and what I was pleasantly surprised to find is that there were no sharp fret ends on these. The fretwork on this is actually really well done out of the box. Another common problem I see in a lot of Epiphones I've tried is scratchy frets, and this, I've been playing it all week, none of the frets are scratchy at all. They're super smooth. So for that, I think this is actually really nice, and it does feel like a bit of an upgrade from some of the regular lineup Epiphones I've tried, because I do think the fretwork is better, at least on the example I got. And the guitar came really nicely set up out of the box. I don't know if that was the retailer that I bought it from, or if it was from the Epiphone factory, but it was pretty much in tune. I just tuned it up a little bit and it was good to go right out of the box, and I was very impressed by that. And of course, being a semi-hollow, super resonant. Which is really cool. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is actually the neck profile on these. I really like it. I don't have exact measurements, but one thing I didn't like about the Epiphone 59 Les Paul is that the neck was really chunky. Like, I think they said it was a 59 profile, but it's probably more like an R8, like even chunkier than a regular R9 would have. This has a little bit of like meat to it. You know, it's not like a super slim neck, but it's definitely slimmer than like your regular Epiphone 59. And I'd say this may be somewhere between like an R0 or R9 neck profile. Me preferring slimmer necks, I was actually very happy with this. It's got something to hold, but it's not too thick, and I thought that was a really nice highlight of this guitar. A couple things that I wasn't as much of a fan of. The fretboard is Indian Laurel. Now, actually in person, I'm pretty okay with it. In pictures and other Epiphones I've seen, the Indian Laurel fretboards seem like lighter and more dry than rosewood, and I never really liked them aesthetically. But when I got this in person, I saw it, I was actually pleasantly surprised. The fretboard's pretty dark, and if he hadn't told me, I would have probably just thought this was regular rosewood. And it actually feels a bit smoother, I think. So I'm pretty happy with that, and it doesn't really bother me much. The Maestro Vibrola tailpiece holds tune decently well, I think, for what it is. I mean, these aren't great for tuning stability. It does go a little out of tune if I use it a little bit more, but for minor warhols and stuff, I think it's pretty good. All in all, this thing's pretty awesome. Let's hear some more tones.